So, yeah. Well, did you want to introduce? Because it's your podcast. I should probably let you introduce yourself and what we're doing here.
Okay, so I'm going to get slightly in character on behalf of Lufacore and YouTube, and I guess in collaboration with the Silver Screen podcast with Michael K. Wilson, Michael K. Michael Initial Wilson. Sorry, sorry, I fumbled it. Who wrote this speech? Whoever wrote this speech, they're fired.
Miss Tessmacher!
Yeah, Miss Tessmacher. Yeah, we are here to talk about not the MCU, like we've just been ranting about off camera. We're here to talk about the DCU. No, not the one from the last decade or so, the new DCU. Supposedly the good one. Because I say good because it's Mr. James Gunn, Mr. Guardians of the Galaxy, Mr. Comedy MCU hit trilogy of the last decade, and bizarre Suicide Squad reboot in the last DC timeline that was quite entertaining and very comic book heavy. Should be a recipe for success, but not unless we say otherwise. Oh, clickbait, done. There you go. What do you mean we don't like it? Yeah. So stay tuned, folks. We'll get into why.
We're just rage baiting those monkeys online that are going to start. Hashtag super shit.
Hashtag super shit. Oh no.
Yeah. Who would have thought that James Gunn would write a movie about the entire internet turning against you and then your friends leaping to your defense and you not being cancelled? Can't imagine where he got an idea like that from.
Oh my god, yeah. That is the movie summed up. That actually, literally, I've had so much fun, but that has hit the nail on the head. Oh my lord.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I can't unsee that. We'll think it. Yeah, okay. Definitely not scripted. That was a real jaw-dropping moment.
It took me a while. At somebody else's actually revelation. I can't remember who it was that said that, but I was like, "Oh, you're right as well." Because there's so much in this that's James Gunn just indulging himself, and I was kind of like, he just can't get out of his own way. It absolutely is just like, yeah. And also, all you people that criticize me must just be monkeys.
Oh no. What a guy. But yeah, Superman, it happened. How else do we introduce this? We
both saw the movie. We should clarify that first of all.
And, sorry guys, we've not been taken over by the internet monkeys. We're not keyboard warriors. We have got proof behind our statements.
Definitely, and we should probably clarify that we're not Snyder Bros, because people will automatically assume that, because that's the way. I kind of hate that the culture war thing is that if you didn't immediately like leap on this film and give it 5 stars, you assumed that you're a Snyder Bro. No, I'm perfectly capable of disliking both. Thank you very much. but yeah, so we should clarify we're not like, oh, bring back the Snyderverse. Or I don't know about you, but I know I'm not. I can give a shit about the Snyderverse anyway.
No, I'm just a fan of a film that originally was a director's production, and then despite the negativity and the circumstances behind it, we got to see a better cut of a film that was absolutely tarnished. But alas, that's not Superman.
That's where we disagree, because I think Zack Snyder's Justice League is dog shit, in my opinion, but never mind.
Oh, here we go. Oh, we're going to have to do 2 separate podcasts on our own at this point.
We did say at some point George was going to get us all together to do the entire DCEU and review the whole thing, but that would be one mammoth thing to
it will be a mammoth thing, and also kind of confusing, controversial, but a good deliberate move in form of Peacemaker, because I mean that technically sits in both, and we keep messaging off camera, will be addressed in season 2, which is out in just over a month. It's August at some point, August 20.
Yeah, not a few weeks, I think. Yeah, I mean, let's just put it this way: anything that James Gunn had a hand in, he didn't want to erase, because it seems like the Suicide Squad is kind of still canon to this universe, because the whole point of having Frank Grillo is that he's Rick Flag Sr. because Peacemaker killed Rick Flag Jr. in the Suicide Squad. So it's kind of like, oh, so you basically are just keeping everything you did, James Gunn. I see how this works,
Originality at its finest, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, that's neither here nor there. That's a complete petty nitpick. But so yeah, just to clarify, I'm not, like I said, I don't particularly like the Snyder stuff either. a couple of my problems with Superman, which, spoiler alert, I do have with this movie, are that because it, for me, repeats a few of the same exact problems that Zack Snyder did in Man of Steel, which I'll get into in a minute if you want to ask me about that. But yeah, so we're not coming at it like, well, this is crap because we want Zack Snyder's vision or whatever. But I have to say, you know, I am the world's #1 Superman fan. I think it was George during one of our Fantastic Four reviews that was like, I want to see your opinions because you're like Mr. Superman. And yes, I am. I'm a huge Superman fan. He's my #1 superhero. I've got shit tons of comics, posters, action figures, like ornaments and stuff all around my house. And yeah, I adore Superman. So I'm also not coming at it from a view of like, well, you don't know Superman. You've never seen the comics. I know Superman.
You forgot to mention your shrine. You forgot to get your little shrine to Superman, to Kal-El, and all the many rings of kryptonite that you have in your secret cupboard.
I would never. There would never be any need for a kryptonite ring. Fuck you, Batman.
Oh, wow.
No.
I would have one kryptonite ring. You and the audience, like you as in Mike and the audience, can guess what color kryptonite. If for those that are clued up on kryptonite, I mean, at times I feel like I know my kryptonite, and other times I don't. But there's one color kryptonite ring I would have. But yeah, maybe I'll divulge that later as we record. But if you guys want to play along or guess, or just say your favorite color kryptonite, let me know. If you say green, that's kind of boring.
Is it the controversial pink one that turns people gay?
Right, okay. Spoiler alert, it's not that color. Okay, is that an actual legit kryptonite? I didn't know.
It's genuinely, it is, but it's from like 1960s or 70s, like way back in the day comics where things were not very PC because, Jimmy Olsen. Yeah. I think it's Jimmy Olsen ends up giving Superman some pink kryptonite, and then Clark Kent suddenly turns up to the office in like, you know, flamboyant scarves and a shirt, and oh, hello, Jimmy, I appear to have turned gay. Oh, I should never have touched the pink kryptonite.
That was an actual comic.
That's an actual comic. You can go and you can probably go and buy it if you want to find obscure old comics.
I thought it'd be the other way around. I thought Clark would have given Jimmy the pink kryptonite, not giving it to Clark.
Well, no, we learned in this movie that Jimmy Olsen's a ladies' man, of course.
And not to go out of sync or just to jump ahead, but that was my initial thought. When was Jimmy Olsen ever a womanizer? When was he ever a womanizer?
There is a comic where they do that for a laugh, that he's kind of like he's irresistible to women, but he doesn't quite get why, so he's still like, oh geez, I just want to hang out with Clark.
Good Lord. Jimmy Olsen. What a guy. What a guy.
Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen has his own comic book series called exactly that.
He does have a series, but it's called Jimmy Olsen, not What a Guy. It's called something else.
It's called Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. That's the exact title of the comic.
Oh, no, I thought you just meant Jimmy Olsen, What a Guy.
Oh, no. That's
Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. Oh, yep. Really hitting originality in comic book names and runs. It's not
this
like
character debuted in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen issue number 14.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Anyway, comics.
Yeah, comics. We're talking about the comic movie, 2025's take on the Superman mythos. Mike has just done like a very brief intro about how much and dedicated he is to how like enamored you are with the Superman character and lore and mythology, and how much it's sort of made an impact on your life. Whereas with me, and I've stressed this to my friends off camera as well, Superman's not on top of my sort of knowledge and my like inner nerdiness. Like realistically, Batman, Superman, X-Men, they're like, again, not just biased to Marvel. Sorry, we're not just Marvel fanboys. I do like and acknowledge DC as well, and for the most part, I am hopeful and optimistic that we will get to some sort of even form of competition in the film market. But I get for a new timeline, new universe, new films, series that's kicking off. I'm not saying you're going to hit a big sort of comeback story with your first installment, which again, like you said off camera, though, technically this universe already started before this film with Creature Commandos. right?
It did, which I actually really liked, as people might be surprised to learn. But yeah.
I will watch it just out of curiosity as well. But yeah, it's kind of bold that you start a cinematic universe through an animated show. That's not in cinema.
Yeah. Well, they did say officially that's kind of, what did they call it? They said that was like a starter or an amuse bouche before the main thing starts with Superman. So they're like, well, it is, but it's just the official big start of everything is Superman. So yeah.
Yeah. Fair. And then even, I suppose, retroactively, Blue Beetle in a way could be a
well, they said Blue Beetle, the character and the actor will be the same, but the movie won't be canon, supposedly.
All right, I'll take that statement back then. I'll retract that.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, Superman 2025. That's I guess just let's get on with the show. Don't know what to say. Yeah, let's get back on the topic.
We both had our thoughts, and I mean, mine are just going to basically be straight from my Letterboxd review because I had to spew out all of my thoughts, and I've ended up with a super long ass Letterboxd review to kind of explain my issues and break them down as clearly as I possibly could, because I spewed it all out and then was like, right, now let's organize this into sections of where my grievances lie and also what's good. I'm going to be fair, and then justify hopefully my score by the end of it. And I haven't really heard much from you, so I'd be interested to hear if you kind of agree, disagree, and what your opinions are, because all I heard from you was kind of your star score that I won't spoil just yet till the end. And that you kind of were, unsure.
I was going to do what you did and put your thoughts either on paper or via message. But then when I was out and about in the town, I then just, it was one of those things where I couldn't put words to paper or words to message. And it was like, oh no, I better save it, but also think on it and figure it out. And again, going back to others' reviews, like people have watched it a couple times. I mean, I've not personally had the spare time to go and think about watching the film again if I did really want to. It might be an experience that could get better on repeat viewings, just sort of knowing what happens and not really thinking about it too much, like we as unofficial, unpaid film critics have to when we watch anything at the cinema. Yeah. But yeah, you by all means, you're going to be more scripted and structured as always, and I'm just kind of going to ramble and maybe not object with any of your statements, but also I feel like we are going to match on a lot of similar points. We hope so.
Yeah. And even if we don't, it's fair enough. I mean, I've had discussions. I haven't had many discussions with people, but I have had a discussion with a friend of mine yesterday where she was she disagreed with me in some ways, and then rather than kind of answering her back and getting into a long text exchange, I was like, I'll mark that down as kind of like opposition to some of my points that I can answer back when I do the podcast tomorrow, hopefully. So again, I'll try and kind of explain what I'm going with then. But yeah, I mean, I should say, because people that are listening to this will be like, oh, you hate it. I didn't hate the film whatsoever. I've said in my review, like at the very start, I really did want to like this, and there is some shrapnel of the Superman that I love in this movie. And to start off on a positive, I think Superman, the character himself, David Corenswet's portrayal and everything, no notes, great, love it. Maybe it's a little bit cheesy, but that's Superman. You kind of have to be a little bit cheesy and a little bit Boy Scouty, and I think that is the part that everyone's responding to with like, oh, they understand the character, because that's Superman. You know what I mean? If you, like I said, this is where the Snyder fans don't get it when they're like, no, he should be dark and broody and the world hates him, but he has to reconcile.
That's another character. Yeah, no. Like, not to bounce off of your point, but yeah, I agree that thinking about James Gunn's previous Suicide Squad being very comic book heavy, almost to its detriment as well. I mean, with giant starfish, Starro. I mean, again, that defining what a fine comic book or perfect comic book movie is subjective in and of itself. But David's portrayal of Superman himself, and from what I know of the other on-screen incarnations, I feel like this is the most comic book definitive Superman. And David did a damn fine job of what was given.
I wouldn't go that far. I think he does a great job, but I still think I'd rank him below like Christopher Reeve, Tom Welling, and Tyler Hoechlin personally.
No, well, I wasn't going to stress, like I said at the beginning, I'm not as versed on the Superman lore. When I actually sat and thought about what Superman films and adaptations I've actually seen, my knowledge is basically most of Smallville. I've seen seen Tyler Hoechlin. Sorry, I butchered his name. In
Heckling, I think is. Yeah.
I've seen his first couple episodes when he first appeared in Supergirl season 2, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've seen the original Christopher Reeve, and then I've seen various episodes of the animated cartoon, but sort of in a random order. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, there's still quite a gap in terms of other adaptations I need to sort of go away and see.
I see, yeah. Well, that's kind of good because, I mean, like I said, it gives us two different perspectives because I'm like, Mr. Absorb every bit of Superman media I can multiple times, and you're like, I'll see the odd bit.
It's Superman's your Bible.
Yeah. But,
you work,
I mean, it's good that you saw the animated series because I think in some ways this movie, that's the closest analogy I would think is the kind of animated shows that you got in the 90s because they weren't afraid either to kind of start with like, well, there's a lot going on. It's a big universe full of metahumans, and so we're not going to explain every little thing, even though they do have the origin. So So I mean, that wasn't necessarily the next thing on my notes, but since we're going there, I suppose I'd have to ask you how you feel about that because I'm very torn on this, and I don't think I like it. The idea that everybody else seems to love, which is you're just thrust in the middle of a universe that already has metahumans and there's tons of superheroes and everyday things are just insane. I was like, for me, I don't know if I love that, but I really wanted to know what your thoughts on it were.
No, I appreciate the idea on paper, and I do think it's for the sake of not doing the same origin story. Because I mean, thinking about Spider-Man and Batman, how many times do we need to see Batman's parents get killed? How many times do we need to see Uncle Ben? I know with the MCU they kind of did the whole other twist of Aunt May this time, and we had 3 films to get to that, and that was kind of like a stealth of like reverse origin story in a way. But with the DC take on it, I mean, if it was just solely focused on Superman and we didn't get a certain gang of justice people in this film, I mean, I agree with having a world somewhat feel lived in, but the fact that you've got these other individuals with other powers and again tech and meetings and stuff already happening is the part where, and then we'll get to it, and there's another, like, I think the main thing that bugs me with the film, just going off of the world that's been lived in and obviously developments happening behind the scenes of in-universe stuff, and it's to do with my gorgeous profile picture of bald cap Lex Luthor, because when he said what he says, and I reckon it will be a point of contention with you. If it isn't on your notes or in your review anyway, I'll be genuinely shocked. But when he says what he says, and when we get to what we're going to unfold, it truly sort of blew my socks off because I thought, okay, this is this needs a line, a hint of a scene, like this needs anything. But I'm sort of jumping forward a little bit.
That's fine.
But no, to sort of answer the question, I did like it more on paper. I just don't think it was finally or as smoothly executed as I was hoping it would be. But whether or not that's the fault of other heroes on screen, that's, quote unquote ruining or jeopardizing David's take on the character, it hasn't got anything to do with the characterization as such. I just feel it's just more in-universe thing that's already been established via technology, which I was like, okay, but I'm kind of saying it without saying it. But we'll get to it.
I mean, like I say, I'm very torn on it, not because I hate the idea in general, and I love a lot of the DC characters, and including a couple of the ones that are here. I couldn't put my finger on kind of my issue because I wasn't that bothered about not doing the Superman origin, even though I do kind of love the scenes on Krypton when we do get them in the Superman movies. But it wasn't the end of the world that we didn't get those, and I kind of like the idea of starting with like Superman came out to Earth 30 years ago, came out publicly to to everyone as Superman 3 years ago, just lost his first fight. Okay, that's fair enough. My biggest issue was like, well, metahumans have been around for 300 years, and they're just now becoming a problem. Like,
but that feels very like say, as opposed to phases, like James Gunn's referred to this thing as chapters. Like, I feel like that's obviously going to be a certain plot point, and it will be discussed upon not just in chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, but obviously in other things going forward. But metahumans, and the fact that we've, like you say, 300 years and we haven't had anything since, or any mention, or any. I'm not saying we would have a giant meta-human head forming in an island, a la Eternal Island,
No,
in Captain America. But you'd think there would be some more development of that, or something else of that.
It's not that with me. My issue is that like the film is brave enough to be political, and that's fair enough. But then it makes such a big deal out of. And again, it's cool that it's going there, and I really hope that this is something the universe does going forward. With like, well, I'm pleased you're not worried about metahumans, Rick Flag, because they've just dictated everything. You know, they've just marched in and decided the world's politics and kind of politically where you can stand and stuff. And I'm like, and nobody in 300 years has ever interfered in Earth politics before, because I find that hard to believe. You know, it's like they were just sitting on their hands for 300 years. Like, oh well, we're not going to get involved. Like, surely Wonder Woman would have fought in World War II. Is that not getting involved? You know what I mean? And it just feels like they kind of want to have their cake and eat it. Like, oh, there's been metahumans the whole time, but they haven't interfered until right now. And I'm like, well, so make your mind up. Again, this is such a nitpick, but it's and it wasn't even my kind of main issue. Like I said, it was, it's something and nothing, but it is kind of symptomatic of like, you're always going to have that problem. And it's something that I hear so many people complaining about, oh, Marvel wants to do this, but James Gunn's completely screwed them over because now he's showing you can have this universe where they're all there instead of having to be solo. And Marvel keeps promising all these heroes are together, but they never are until the big Avengers. And I'm like, yeah, because what can you possibly do now? Whenever you see any of these DC characters, you'll be like, so where's everybody else? You know, so there's never going to be a threat that you're just like, well, there's like 100 other people that can jump in and help. I know there is. We saw them. You know, so again, this is nitpicky, but my biggest issue, like I said, because I like these characters and I didn't really mind, and I thought they might overshadow Superman a bit more than they ultimately end up doing, which is good. But my biggest issue is that it's just like it's James Gunn doing his thing again, and I hate this whole I'm gonna play the hits kind of thing when any filmmaker or whatever does it. And it was just it's because he needed a kooky group without rules like the Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's exactly what it felt like. And as soon as I realized that, I was like, shit, that's exactly why the Justice Gang are here. They're the fucking Guardians of the Galaxy because you needed a group like that.
Called it playing like greatest hits, called it being safe in some regards. I agree with that massively. They are kind of like the bootleg Guardians of the Galaxy minus the talking tree. And but then who say that this gang is not going to get any bigger and develop later on? And
well, I mean, they do get joined by Metamorpho by the end, so that's like 4 of them at least, anyway. But and again, this is not this is not an uncommon thing in DC to have Justice League, Justice Society, Justice Gang, whatever. Like I said, my issue is more just like they're not given any real gravitas. And yes, James Gunn is quite savvy sometimes in his choice of character because, and I said this in my review, I don't mind that Guy Gardner is a dick because that's literally exactly his character in the comics. And I was like, okay, you've picked a great character there if you want to have somebody which, who's going to flip off everyone with a Green Lantern hand and not give a shit and be a little bit of an asshole because that's exactly what that character is. But like Hawkgirl and Mr. Terrific and stuff, they're supposed to be quite heroic. And it just came off like they were, like I said, just, we're the quippy Guardians who don't have rules and shit like that. There he is, Mr. Bulker.
Mr. Iconic Jerk Bulker.
Exactly. But I didn't love that. And one of the other things, and again, maybe it's just me and people I'm sure will rail against it, but it felt like James Gunn saw the kind of pushback against the Zack Snyder Superman and was like, oh, we can't kill anybody, but man, I really hate the fact that we can't kill. So he undercuts it by kind of wanting to point out how stupid it is. Like, he wants to, even this big monster, he wants to kind of save it and stuff. And then, like I said, one of the many scenes I hated is Hawkgirl just killing the dictator guy of a country without any political ramifications and just going, well, I'm not Superman, haha. And the film wants you to like cheer for it. And I'm like, the fuck are we doing here?
I didn't. Yeah, it was a real no, you're right about that. It was a real out of context. Oh, this is a morally grey scene. How am I supposed to actually feel about it? But because it's his style of humor and it's meant to be like a weird, well, I don't call it a comedy moment, but it was a subversion for sure. It's not a heroic moment. It sort of defeats the objects. Why would they just like of importance and not have that be addressed? But then who's to say it won't be later on?
And I'm not saying that I disagree with the idea. I mean, if we're taking it to its extreme and this guy represents, Benjamin Netanyahu or Vladimir Putin or whatever, yes, I can understand the frustration and wanting to go out and kill and et cetera, but I kind of wish there'd been more, and I'm glad we at least got it. There'd been more of like Rick Flag going, well, we're fucked because this is a political ally of the US, where a US citizen now has just murdered their leader. There's gonna be consequences to that, Like, oh shit,
ramifications.
Yeah,
they've shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't see any of that because the film ends at that point, and it's like, well, we might deal with that later. And I'm like, that's your entire focus of the movie is this conflict that Superman stopped, and you being like, Superman, you can't just go in there and stop a conflict, mind. And then at the end, go, oh, but don't worry, these guys can. What's changed? It kind of comes off very weird.
Yeah, like unsure how to feel about it.
Yeah, like again, I get it, and I think it's super brave of them to go there, especially like I said. I'm sure it doesn't necessarily represent the whole Israel-Palestine thing. It's just that's the current version that's going on right now. So that's the thing.
Like, whether I was trying to like feed into that or not, or like there are certain articles and things online sort of promoting it that not to address it or to bring real world affairs into it, but like you say, the Israel-Palestine conflict. But as soon as the sort of fictional I can't think of both fictional countries. As soon as both their names were on screen, like your mind went straight to those Israel Palestine, and fair enough. If it was just not as like again, because obviously not knowing the plot or anything online, I went into this quite blind as a bat, really, badoomtish. Yeah, I really wasn't trying to do that on purpose. When I found out what this Superman movie was about, and it was about conflict, as well as interpersonal conflict, and other character appropriate things to sort of dress on, it kind of fed into something where I didn't really want in a comic book movie with an alien from space. And again, with people saying that it's too woke and it's addressing immigrancy, but that's been on the page since Action Comics issue 1. Like, Superman's always been an alien. He's always not been off of this earth, and yet people, people online are being clever behind their keyboards, and they're just trying to make a fuss out of something that isn't really there or has always been there since the first issue. So why is that a thing? Like, why is this such a big deal?
That's the thing. All art is political, and people that think otherwise are usually idiots. Or, like I said, the people that claim that things I liked as a kid weren't political. No, it's just that you were a kid. You didn't understand it. Doesn't mean it wasn't there, But and I'm not complaining about them addressing this real world idea. I think it's fantastic. My biggest issue is that everyone's acting like, oh, it's so fantastic that they're dealing with it, but they don't deal with it. It doesn't provide you with any answers to the questions. It's just kind of like the questions there. Superman did what he did, and it gets interviewed with Lois, and I'm like, I love all this. Fantastic. We're addressing the idea of, he did good, but then, in the world that we live in, some people would look upon that negatively and would be, oh, you can't just go out and act for yourself. But then it's not even him that resolves. Like I said, it's the Justice Gang at the end that turn up and they're like, oh, well, we can do it. Never mind. And then nobody deals with those consequences. There's nobody interviewing them, Lois Lane style, and being like, so what gave you the right to do this? And I'm sure everyone will, everyone will be shouting at they'll do that in another movie. Well, I'm sure they probably will, but you have to be satisfied within one movie. People complain about, well, at least this didn't do the Marvel thing of setting up stuff that'll never be off. It did. It's just that it was within the story. There's so many things here that it just didn't want to resolve and was like, but that's fine. It's not the story we're telling. We'll get to it maybe later on. But that's some of the richest stuff you could have done,
especially to kick off this new initiative. Yeah, for sure. Yes. Yeah. No, that's we're on the same page about that. Then that's all fine.
Yeah. I have to say as well, this is my actual film critic little bit of nerdiness is that it's just bad filmmaking when you have a scene like the kid from the kind of oppressed land who's holding up the flag with Superman on, which, by the way, I got choked up with that guy that was like, Superman, come save us. And then Superman doesn't, because he's busy in Metropolis, and I get that. I get he's saving Metropolis and everything, but it's like the Justice Gang saved that kid, and I'm like, why would you write it that kid wants Superman to come and then doesn't get that to happen? It's just, it's bad writing, because you're like, oh, the kid called for Superman, but now I need him to be over here in my script because he needs to save Metropolis, so he won't. Then why set it up that way? It's so stupid.
You're right. The kid did stick out like a sore thumb. I instantly, I watched it with my mum, but even she said, like, oh, the kid didn't get saved by Superman. And I went, thank you. I was thinking that as well. He got saved, don't get me wrong, but it's not what the film was telling us or hoping. And again, the whole character and concept of Superman is hope. and the hope wasn't there for that child.
Exactly. And I mean, again, just to answer the criticism that I know will be coming, because I've heard them all, so I'm kind of ready to respond. Yes, I get that the point is that Superman inspires other people to do the heroic thing, and that he should therefore, it's him that inspired the Justice Gang to go there. I'm like, yeah, but they're not then presented as necessarily heroic. It's not them going, well, we're doing the right thing. It's like I said, it's Guy Gardner flipping the bird while destroying convoys full of things, and Hawkgirl killing someone. Like, oh yeah, how fucking inspirational, I guess.
Yeah, DC Comics, aka Dark Comics, but we don't want to sell the dark bit.
Yeah, but that's the thing. People are like, it's going to be funny that DC will be the light one now that it's all about hope and stuff. And I'm like, you're not looking in the right place. I mean, I get it with Superman, yes, absolutely, but
questionable signs of hope and morals by the Justice Gang. But then without talking about them too much, I mean, I get it was more just for humor, and obviously this is like the early signs of what eventually will probably not be the Justice League. But Gang, and Guy, again, my Green Lantern knowledge is a bit all over the place, but I randomly thought Guy Gardner was older, or at least like published further back around the time of Hal Jordan and John Stewart, but he's more recent than I thought. Like, he was like,
kind of, but not by much. I mean, his backstory is that basically he's the backup to Hal Jordan. Like when Abin Sur crashed, if you know the Green Lantern mythology, the Ring went out to find somebody, and it found two candidates, Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner. And Hal was closer, so the Ring picked him. And then another Ring went to Guy Gardner that was just like, if anything happens to Hal, you'll take over. You can be our you can be our understudy.
I thought his stupid backstory was going to be like he is in this movie. I thought he was a real twat. He beats someone up and he stumbles across the ring, and next thing you know, he goes to space, does his Green Lantern Corps, and he becomes a supposedly better person. That was just my guess.
His backstory was that, like I said, he would have been picked. It was just sheer dumb luck that Hal Jordan was closer to where the crash happened. But the thing is, again, it's an interesting story with regards to Guy Gardner, is you don't have to necessarily be nice in terms of the Green Lantern power. The power that it represents is willpower. If you're strong-willed, that can include being the strong-willed bit of a dick.
Strong-willed
it's not about, So as long as you have the courage of your convictions, and you're like, yeah, I'm a dick, but I don't care, then you're strong-willed and you can wield a Green Lantern.
So Matt Berry's a candidate then, because he's got strong.
Matt Berry would make a fantastic Green Lantern. That man is all about willpower.
Exactly. He'd be a phenomenal Green Lantern.
Eat my green construct. you really are the most devious guardian on all of the planet. Oh,
oh, great.
Anyway, but yeah, so that was my nitpicks about those guys. I like those characters, and credit where it's due. I really liked Mr. Terrific in this movie, and I can see why he's become a standout. And they're already talking about giving him a solo film, which I don't think he should. But I think that actor, Edie Gathegi, is great, and he's good as Mr. Terrific. Didn't love him kind of killing the monster thing, but again, I'm not that much of a kind of, woolly-hearted liberal that I'm like, save the monsters, which is also why all these people that are like, Superman saved the squirrel, isn't that a great scene? I'm like, no, it's fucking ridiculous. I get it, it's Superman, but at the same time, there's a level where you're like, come on, guys.
Kind of like roll your eyes like, okay, I get the gimmick here. I get you're selling. He's not. It's more than just humans. He's everything and everyone. Yeah.
And again, I love that the understanding of Superman, the character that he is, when that monster the big kaiju, and he's like, guys, I don't love that you killed it. I was going to take it to an intergalactic zoo and study it. And I'm like, yes, exactly. That's perfect. And then he was like, so don't go around killing people to the Justice Gang, who then at the end of the movie go around and kill a bunch of people.
Murderers.
Never mind, But anyway, so, but that's, like I said, I think it's just James Gunn. And the other thing that kind of relates to that is that one of the scenes I loved was the Mr. Terrific action scene when he protects Lois in the shield, and him and the T-Spheres are taking out all the guards. But the reason I love it is that it's just basically a carbon copy of all of the Guardians of the Galaxy scenes that I love. It's just like Yondu and his arrow in Guardians 2. It's the same scene, right down to like a pop song playing and whatever.
Going into familiar territory and playing his greatest hits, quite literally, him being great with his soundtrack choices. Always James Gunn, he's always got pop hits and action scenes well crafted with the songs of choice. Definite Guardians of the Galaxy vibes with his action scene. But Mr. Terrific, he definitely had more time to shine out of the gang than others. I wouldn't outright call him terrific or fantastic or amazing, but I really did like the portrayal, and there's definitely hope and potential for at least more appearances in other things that aren't the Justice Gang. Like I'm like you, I don't want to see an outright Mr. Terrific movie, because whether or not it'd be a terrific movie will be another question. But no, I agree that he needs to kind of be spread in this universe and used wisely to perhaps get a standout sequence or two, but hopefully elevate and develop other characters that whatever project he'll be in next. Eddie was fantastic, and also in a way redemption for how he was treated upon the Fox X-Men stuff. Darwin,
Darwin from First Class. Well, apparently he was promised he would be back, and then realized when it got to like 3 movies down the line, and he hadn't been asked, that he was clearly not coming back, and he was just been screwed. Oh, poor guy.
Absolutely.
No, I love that they nail the characterization of Mr. Terrific. I like the character anyway, and I like the character in Arrow, even though it's not that much like the comic book thing. But I love that this one has the comic book idea where he's like, he's the most intelligent guy in the room, but he just can't be asked with you constantly knowing that and asking him to do stuff. It's kind of like that one little scene where the one kind of villager or whatever you want to call it comes into the thing, and they're like, "This isn't good. It's going to split. Can you do something?" And he's like, "Me? Why me, man?" So like I said, there's some really good characterization. I didn't love what they did with Hawkgirl for like bare moments that she was in the movie, because she didn't really have much to do.
Was she even in the movie? She was kind of forgotten about. She was massively forgotten about.
That's symptomatic of a larger problem, I think, though, which again, controversial view, but I think this film is, and I said it in my Letterboxd review, incredibly sexist. It does not serve women well at all. And again, I've seen people say the opposite, and I have to disagree. Like, okay, this Lois Lane is good, don't get me wrong, but she also spends most of the film either nagging at Clark, oh, I'm not the one being interviewed, Superman. So she comes off like a nagging spouse. And then like the whole thing that she's doing, the whole trying to expose Lex story, is done by Jimmy Olsen. Like, Jimmy gets to beat her to a story. How good of a reporter can she be? It's like, no. But, I love that she's proactive, and I love that she's out there trying to do the saving of Superman, and, it addresses their relationship in an interesting way. They're at that kind of halfway point between not knowing who he is and then being married with kids, so that's fine.
That'll develop.
Then, like I said, and people are like, "Oh, it's so good that the Eve Tessmacher character, rather than being like the dumb bimbo, it's really clever how they subvert it, because she's actually, when you think she's been taking selfies, she's been taking pictures of all of Luthor's like secret plans and that." And I'm like, that's great, but then why do we have to have scenes where Jimmy Olsen's like, "I'm not dating this supermodel, she has ugly feet"? Like, that is just so misogynist, man.
No, you hit that right. Just. I alluded to Jimmy being a womanizer again was a new thing for me, and I just not dissing. I forgot the surname, but Skylar, who was in
Skylar
Gisondo, right? There we go. He was also in another Marvel, a kick scene post where these actors all appeared in like various Marvel stuff, but mainly Fox.
To be honest,
idea. I can't remember who the hell he was, but he was linked to a Marvel project in one of the films. A kid of some sort, definitely not Iron Man 3 though. I know that.
No, I didn't need that to be like, oh, she's so clingy and terrible and shrew-like, and I don't want to date her because she's got ugly feet. I'm like, it's Sarah Sampaio. Have you seen her? I don't care if that chick has tentacles on her feet. I'm jumping at the chance for a date with her. Oh, I'm sorry, Jimmy. She's only a 9.9 out of 10. Oh God.
What? Oh, damn it!
What a hog!
With all that money you're getting from the Daily Planet, surely you can you can get your perfect 10 out of 10.
Then, as I said, Hawkgirl doesn't get anything really to do, so that's another female character. And then the film has it made such a big deal out of like James Gunn casting his friend Michaela Hoover as Cat Grant, and like as I said in my Letterboxd review, she's more cleavage than character. She's literally like, you'd be forgiven for not knowing which character I'm referring to. It's the blonde one with the glasses and the huge rack in the Daily Planet who does literally nothing at all except be in the background going, "Ooh, look, rack." during the few
I
scenes,
kept looking at her going, oh yeah, Supergirl. Like obviously Callista Flockhart from
Oh yeah, because
that.
that's where Cat Grant from. Yeah.
Yeah.
That version from Supergirl is nothing like the comic book character. It has to be said, but then again, there's
Oh, is it?
different. I mean, there's recent comics that have treated her a lot nicer, and she's kind of a single mom and all that. But yeah, the Callista Flockhart thing, very much its own thing. I don't know what they kind of had to have a hard ass character, and it's not really anything. Yeah. But saying that, I mean, like I said, it's hard. What is the characterization of her in this movie? We don't know. I can't remember her getting a line. And yeah, and similarly, like I said, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, just to make fun of her even more. She's literally alluding to the whole "does she even get a line" thing. She literally is sitting whilst the interesting news reports are in the background, but she's literally just planted as a very obvious and intentional distraction.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, very. It speaks. Yeah.
So the women fare badly, but then again, so do a lot of the Superman supporting characters, like I said, which I feared was going to happen when you introduce all of these DC, superheroes and villains and such. Because, like, I was reading an interview with the guy Wendell Pierce, the actor who plays Perry White, and he was like, "Oh, the interesting thing about Perry is that he's got the Daily Planet on this campaign against Luthor because Luthor had slept with his wife and everything." And I'm like, "That's nowhere in this movie." And in fact, your character gets like 3 lines. Like, that might have been interesting to see, this backstory that you were told happens, and yet we have no indication of
it. Just to ask you a question, did you, I mean, not that I know franchises do this anyway, and, not that I feel like we are obviously entitled to, and by all means do it at your own leisure, people, the audience, but did you ever read, or have we read the official tie-in prequel novel? Because I feel like there was a lot of information that would have been handy going into this movie.
No, I haven't read. I didn't even know there was one. I heard there was a kids kind of tie-in junior novel, but no, I haven't read that.
I mean, I've seen the cover online, but essentially it is always like an in-universe prequel novel. It kind of briefly touches upon, I think, the first couple of years of essentially Superman Year One, but in this universe. I think.
I hate that. I hate that you have to go and do homework to understand a movie fully.
That was my point. But I feel like in this universe, especially, and how it was established, I feel like I need to actually read that. Which, whether I do or not is another thing. But like, I don't do it anyway with other topics and franchises. But I feel like I personally would have to if I wanted to understand certain things of this universe in particular.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, because of this, setting up the perfect universe thing, it kind of, like, for me, the benchmark of a Superman film is always going to be the 1978 movie. And as I said in my review of it over on the Silver Screen plug, one of the biggest things about that movie was it's got to have verisimilitude. Okay, you're dealing with things that are unreal, but you've got to set it in a world that feels real. And none of James Gunn's world feels real. It feels like, I think I heard somebody else describe it on it. It feels like a Saturday morning cartoon that's had too much Red Bull. And I'm like, yes, so nothing has an impact because you're in a world where crazy shit happens everywhere and nothing. Oh, okay, where am I this time? And some of the fight sequences and the action scenes were just like, they reminded me of watching the Michael Bay Transformers, where I'm just like, so it's a bunch of CGI humping itself. Am I supposed to care about any of this at any point? What's the stakes? But again, I know that's not an issue everyone else has had, but it definitely was with me. And again, I think it's criminal that the best action sequence in a Superman movie doesn't involve Superman. It's Mr. Terrific and Lois, But so
yeah.
So not to interrupt you, but how did you feel about like the action and the universe as a whole? Or
I mean, action. Again, like, honestly, thinking on the spot, there's no, aside from Mr. Terrific, as we mentioned, there's no real sequence that really maybe go, ooh, or think, oh, this is like a la Guardians, unlike the Mr. Terrific scene. There isn't anything that I can recall that's sticking out. The only thing that, again, bugged me for 2/3 of the movie, which is more of a plot point, and yes, it's obvious once we address it, and it's kind of like, oh, duh, but for me, it was genuine a WTF moment that kind of took me out of the movie because I was sitting here actually trying to figure out what was going on. Is the Fortress of Solitude fight scene where Mr. Luthor and gang can just, that was something at that time, before I figured it out, can just go into the fortress. Yeah. I was really like, huh? And again, I knew a certain cast and character was in the movie. I just didn't know the context and the twist and everything. I'm referring to Ultraman and that whole situation. But honestly, when Lex just went to the South Pole, Antarctica, and sort of tracked where Superman came out of and found and just simply walked in, it was like, it just really dumbfounded me. And I thought it's all sense of logic been chucked out the window. I genuinely was out of the movie for 2/3 of it. And then I might as well go about complaining about the Lex train, because Lex also being my next pet, big plot point that this is more of a genuine plot point though, that I would have liked to have a little bit more context on, and in this universe that's already been established and lived in. So you're telling me Luthor Corps, Lex Luthor, and whoever, he must have had help from other external sources. When did he, in this universe, have technology to go into a micro universe? Or like a pocket universe. How was that ever? There wasn't a line. It was just, oh yeah, we're going to a pocket universe. And I literally kind of went, okay, yeah.
I have the answer to that for you, and it sucks, by the way. It's explained in season 1 of Peacemaker.
What? I actually have to do homework from the other universe. Do I actually?
Yep. People were like, oh yeah, Lex has the black hole pocket dimension tech from Peacemaker season 1. That's cool. I'm like, is it?
From Peacemaker? Wow. And the thing is, I was going to say how much I actually love Peacemaker, but I totally forgot about that plot point.
Yeah, I love Peacemaker, but like, don't make it so that you have to. You're introducing, like you said, there's no versatility, there's no reality to this, because you're just like, you've got a pocket black hole make a dimension. Okay, I guess.
Well, I'll take it. I mean, I've seen people getting snapped and turned to dust. I've seen like all sorts of comic book shenanigans over the years and other concepts which are ridiculous if we sat here and said them out loud. But Lex Luthor, being a man of Earth, being very human and very non-alien, having black hole pocket technology, it's like,
yeah. And again, really, I know people will whinge at me like, "Oh, it's in the comics." It doesn't make it good. Do you know what I mean? Because something happens in the comics doesn't mean you have to have it. And it's like everyone's like, "Oh, it's so good. It's like reading a comic. Like you're jumping in the middle of a Superman run." That's not a positive thing. A movie shouldn't feel like you're joining a story halfway through.
And in ways, that's how this story is treated. It's just, bam, you're on page, or your issue, say 5 or 6 of the 12-issue run, and then you're supposedly reaching the end of page 12 at the end of this movie, and we still feel like, oh, is this issue 8 or 9 or 10? This don't feel like the very end.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so weird, but yeah. So yeah, to your point, it is stupid. And everyone's argument will be, it's comic books. He's always like that. He has cool. Yeah, I know. But again, in your universe, make it feel a bit more real rather than just saying I can do whatever ridiculous shit I want and say happens in the comics and get away with it. You know what I mean?
For me, it was just a line or like a glimpse of a scene that we're going to get in another project. Like just something of him actually stumbling upon the tech, even if we weren't supposed to know how he got it. But obviously, it'd be something that's like, oh, yeah, we've got to stay tuned, because that's important to me and my suspension of belief.
Definitely. But I mean, since we're on the subject of Lex, I will say that is my other kind of really big positive from the movie, is that I think it's probably my favorite, if not the best characterization of Lex, then probably just behind Michael Rosenbaum on Smallville, because it totally understands what Lex's grievance is with Superman. And I think Nicholas Holtz, he nails the point of that. Like it is just sheer, tear-inducing jealousy at the end of the day.
I was going to say, he doesn't, as much as it's obviously he is the foil of Superman, if this person, like, despite realism and buying into this universe and world that's being lived in and stuff, if this prick was actually in the universe, all you'd want to do is punch the guy in the face. He reeks of evil. And look at the world we live in. Look at the world we live in today, though. I mean, I could say the same about the current US president.
Well,
the only thing missing is that he's not bald.
Exactly. But I mean, I did think it was beyond cheeky of them, by the way, and I can't believe more people aren't complaining about this, like the MAGA people, where Lex Luthor was like, okay, I kind of allied with this other country really to have an excuse to kill Superman, but also as a handy byproduct, I'm going to have this entire strip of desert where I can make my own Luthor casino, and I was like,
Euphoria.
Hang on, did I not see something like this in the news just a few months ago? Like, who?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, it's yeah. Yeah. Nicholas Holt's portrayal was excellent. The characterization was cool, and yeah, like Lex Luthor is a big thumbs up in this movie. He was
Definitely,
just a villain that you just did not. There's no ounce of respect. Even before he was on screen with Superman, you just reeked and almost like wanted to just squish him. Like you just wanted to squeeze him into a ball because you just didn't like his character before he even opened his mouth.
Yes.
Yeah, and him, and only nitpick as much as we just praise Nicholas Hoult and this Luthor. He's even that despicable to the fact that again with his little crew and the whole dropping the pencils and being very. It adds to the feel of like, oh, I really don't like. Even the people that work for him obviously don't like the guy. But that was the only thing I kind of thought. Oh, you're maybe going that little bit far for me.
Oh, I loved it. I didn't mind.
Everything you were doing was amazing. Yeah,
I didn't really care because the Gene Hackman version from 1978 movie is so ridiculously comically over the top anyway that like there's nothing that undercuts Lex anywhere near as much as some of that stuff does in that movie, much as I love it. And the stuff, I mean, it goes quite dark places here with Lex. The whole idea of like, and again, I love it, the idea that I've got an ex-girlfriend, held captive in this pocket dimension without rules, just held prisoner. Again, very topical. She dared to break up with me, and I've got some other person here. Why? Because they wrote nasty things on a blog about me, and it's like, dude, this guy is you. And then even, again, we should probably have said this before now, but full spoilers if you haven't seen the movie. But again, the real shocking moment when he has that kind of the Middle Eastern guy who's like Superman's #1 fan.
Yeah,
and he's like doing
the roulette
yeah. Just immediately the second shot kills him. And I was like, shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like you felt something. Yeah. Even I was like, oh, damn, like he's not messing around. Like, no, true villain.
Also, it did such good things with that as well, because that's what inspires Metamorpho to be like, oh shit, I'm responsible in a way. I held you back, and that guy was killed. And what am I going to do? So I like that. And again, a great character, great actor, Anthony Carrigan, fantastic portrayal of that character. Even though the character is ludicrous, he made him come across as one of the more grounded parts of the movie, which is weird. So I love that they used it as that motivation, but also at the end of the movie, I thought it was such a lovely touch that instead of being like Superman saves the day, that Clark Kent, obviously because he would have written the article, wrote, "This is Metropolis's true hero," and it was that Middle Eastern guy who had died, kind of protecting Superman. And I was like, oh, again, I wish that wasn't just a fleeting, like, if you see it, cool. If you don't, it doesn't matter. I was like, really, make more of this. It's such a cool moment,
No, I completely agree. Yeah, no, that whole sequence was amazing. Clark Kent. Can we touch upon Clark Kent and the lack of Clark Kent in the grand scheme of things that really wasn't in this movie? And I know it's there in the first act, and then the interview scene with Lois and Superman, like that was all well conducted, and the whole voice thing was good, and Colin Sweat's portrayal was really well executed between Clark and Superman. It's not as like deliberate and as homagey to Christopher Reeve, and obviously not as topped as it was brilliantly in Superman 78 anyway, because you're not going to ever get that ever. But the lack of real David Colin Sweat Clark Kent was quite little, which again, that makes or breaks people. Maybe people just want to see Superman, they don't care about the people behind the mask, so to speak. That I feel like that will be a thing regardless of a sequel. I feel like we will get more Clark Kent written stuff to come. But like I liked the brief bit of Clark Kent we saw. But I don't know, just not really Clark Kent in this film, apart from the beginning.
I have thoughts on that, but I haven't written them down because you've just kind of jogged my memory. I didn't like the kind of, I don't know why I didn't like this, but I didn't like the Lois and Clark sniping each other at the Daily Planet, and then when they get alone together, like, oh, we did a great act in front of people, and I was, okay. I don't know why I didn't like that. I was just like, okay.
It had me work for about 30 seconds because again, universe lived in. Lois doesn't know who Clark is, and then as soon as they get alone, it was like, oh, I see.
Yeah, but to your point, though, I think Conor and Sweat, it is a shame we didn't see more, because I think maybe George even mentioned this because it's in one of the trailers. It's a really cool moment when you kind of see the click when Lois is like, "I'm going to interview you as Superman," and he literally switches. It's so subtle, but Conor and Mike switches his voice from kind of like Miss Lane
that's what
to the Superman voice, like when he's being Superman, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. His voice in that sequence was really good, and but then that's the thing. As soon as he switches, and I know he bickers on and off camera, off recording, and he's very much like, I'm Windy Clark.
That's the thing. He does switch though, and it does. You get to. I mean, it's not as good as Christopher Reeve. It's not as effective or as divided, but at least you get to see. Like you get to see the two sides of that. It's the kind of Clark that Lois knows as Clark, you know, the guy I'm sleeping with, and then it's also Superman, like on the record kind of thing. And I could have done with more of that. I'm with you. I think it was good, and we probably will see more. But
if we're going to go further with the Clark Kent thing, even at his family home on the Kent farm, like I mean, I know that's more about the family, so to speak, and it's not Clark being Clark. Because obviously, if you want to see Clark being Clark at home, then go and watch 10 seasons or the first 5-6 seasons of Smallville.
And I often do.
No, and I mean the Kent family. If again another brief inclusion in the movie that obviously
loved it though. Loved it. Completely nailed the Kent family.
It was nice. Yeah. They were not. I'm just saying Clark wasn't particularly like vocally wasn't Clarky. I mean, I'm not saying I don't buy their relationship or dynamic, but the fact that Clark just didn't open his mouth really on the farm, and that was when he was mopey, and he needed that bit of motivation and hope to come back to him in order to become who he needed to be to save the not so little boy that called out for him 5 minutes before. But never mind, that's another movie. That's in another movie.
No, there's kind of the best versions of Superman. There should always be 3 versions where there's Clark Kent, which is the kind of persona. Some people would say it's the criticism of how dumb he sees the world. If you want to believe that, fair enough. But it's like it's his disguise. Then there's Superman, which is a different kind of disguise, the kind of super heroic. I am your everything. I'm like a god to you. And then there's in between, which is like Clark Kent, the human being that was raised by humans. That's just a guy. So But I think this film, I'll get into the reasons why in a minute, but one of the things it kind of does is it merges the kind of Clark, the real guy, and the Superman. So it doesn't give Superman that kind of reverence that he should have as his own kind of, his own otherness to Clark Kent, if you know what I mean. It's like, no, I'm human. Superman is the human being man. I'm like, no, he's really not.
Yeah. I am the human man. Yeah, no, especially not in that voice. I am the human man. I am Superman. No.
And I love the idea that Superman has been, majority of his character comes from the way he was raised by loving human parents and from human values and stuff. And love it. Absolutely. Go there. That's fantastic. But not at the expense of just like, and everything to do with my other life is shit.
Exactly. That's another James Gunn gag. It's who I am is who I am because of what's happened now, not because of like the shit I've got going on in my backstory. It's another meant to be a funny gag. But Superman isn't funny. Yeah,
I'm getting into it, so I may as well do it. My biggest issue with the movie is the big change, and again, I know people that don't have an issue with it, and I'm prepared to fight you. The idea that Jor-El and Lara sent Clark to Earth not to save him or to save his life or to send him to be a beacon for humanity, but to basically conquer them, to be a warlord, to get a harem of women and spread his seed. Absolute fucking bullshit. And yes, again, I know the comics have played with this idea. Doesn't make it good. Doesn't mean I like it when the comics do it either. I think it's sheer bullshit personally. And again, I kind of agree, and again, some people don't, but I agree with the idea that like it's as bad as one of my big issues with Man of Steel is having Pa Kent say, Clark, you can't reveal yourself because it would be too dangerous. Oh, should I just let people die? I don't know, maybe. Like, no, Pa Kent would never in a million years say that to Clark. It's totally character assassination of that character. By the same token, you can't have Jor-El being like, they're insects, Clark, rule them, take them anywhere. I'm like, fuck off, it's as bad. You've ruined the other parent.
That was going to be my next point. It was going to be, how did you feel about his real parents? But no. Yeah, and by all means, I think, although that was a bit of a plot point because it's the message that Clark had, going crashing to Earth, and half the message was decoded, and half of it was lost, and obviously what we understand, and I think what the audience is meant to understand is that the full message is that Superman parents are dicks. He's meant to like you just said, sow the seed, rule over Earth because they're just puny bugs. Although, again, the movie doesn't really objectify, doesn't really confirm either, but did Lex and his hacking, did they tamper with it?
No, it does kind of go to pains to say that it's definitely real, because it says, like, we've had it authenticated by so many people and the engineer could never be tricked. And it goes to pains to say, like, it is definitely 100% truly the message. This is just who they are. But again, I have issues with that on other levels. And again, they might retcon it. Some people have already said. Personally, I think it's people that dislike it, like me, that are just desperately trying to cope, because they're just kind of like, well, if it was like Brainiac that doctored the message, they would never be able to crack it, so it could still be false. And I'm like, you're just trying to cope too hard, guys. Guns went out and referenced to be like, no, I wanted to make that change. It's happened in the comics sometimes, and I think it was an interesting thing. I don't agree with it. If you want if you want to do an adaptation of Invincible, do an adaptation of Invincible. That is the guy who has evil, supervillain, Kryptonian-like parents that want him to rule everything. Superman is not that guy. Yeah, I have too much reverence for this 1978 film, and as much as a dick as Marlon Brando can be as a person, and as much as he kind of phoned in the performance as an actor, it's always been impactful in my life, the kind of scenes on Krypton and of Jor-El being like, even though we're dead, you're never going to be on your own, Clark. You'll always be a child of two worlds, but, always hold in your heart the pride of your special heritage, but go and, save humanity now in our name. And I'm like, and you've just pissed on all of that, and it's such a dumb thing to do when you think about it, because, like, as I said, it opens up way too many questions about the future of this universe. Number one being, he's wearing the Kryptonian symbol of his family as his symbol.
Exactly.
Like, why wouldn't he immediately be like, well, fuck this, rip it off, and be like, oh,
down, you could put this shit down here.
But as if that wasn't bad enough, you've also got the most popular and most current version of Supergirl, which is fair enough, but it's also the version that grew up older than Clark and knowing his parents. So are we supposed to believe she was just like, yeah, I knew, but I just didn't want to tell you? You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to ask you with the brief appearance of Supergirl, Millie Alcock. Because, again, very different to what I know of Supergirl. But, I know that comic and James Gunn's whole initiative with the DCU is more based on particular runs, like a la Supergirl is based on
that's
21,
incredibly...
22.
That's incredibly authentic to Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which is an award-winning comic, and it's good in its own way. It's not personally my favorite version of Supergirl, but it is what it is. But again, I don't hugely have an issue with that. My issue is, in this universe, if you've turned Superman's parents evil, again, why would Supergirl just not tell him? And is she then evil? Again, it raises that question. Why would she suddenly decide to be heroic? Why wouldn't she follow... Are her parents evil? Because that's like Jor-El's brother, and...
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. But no doubt, I think we, like, regardless whether people want it or not, we're going to get answers. I think that will be expanded upon 1,000,000% in Supergirl. Is it called Woman of Tomorrow? Is it just Supergirl now?
It's now just called Supergirl because James Gunn said he doesn't like subtitles. That's why he changed Superman Legacy to Superman. So now it's just going to be called Supergirl.
I even forgot it was meant to be called Legacy. I forgot it was just Superman. But I forgot that this had a title.
I mean, I do want to pick up and reread Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow before the movie, because, like I said, it's kind of, even though it's not my favorite version, it's legit, and it's, and again, it literally starts with Supergirl drunk at a space bar, like, I'm near a red sun so I can get drunk. And I was like, all right, so that's basically James Gunn saying this is the comic you need to read, because that's exactly how I'm introducing her. So I'm like, all right, again, it's not my favorite version of the character, but I know what to look for, at least,
So she is the Valkyrie of Ragnarok, and in a way, kind of Star-Lord. Going back to the Guardians, she's kind of Star-Lord.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Is she going to be that kind of Gamora cipher where it's like, my parents are evil, but I didn't want to be, kind of thing? It's like,
that's more accurate than Gamora.
Yeah. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I don't love that version of Supergirl, but I also respect the fact that it's not necessarily... It's not an... it's not the norm, and it is a version that exists in the comics, and a lot of people do love it, and fair enough. I'm not that precious about Supergirl as a character, and again, if I was that bothered, I've got 6 seasons of a Supergirl I do love to just chuck in and watch any time I want, you know. So,
what's your thoughts on Helen Slater? Not the original movie. What's your thoughts on that?
The original movie is terrible, but it's terrible in a kind of fun, you know, watch it and get drunk with your mates kind of way. But I think Helen Slater's great in it. I think she's a fantastic actor.
Not that I've seen that movie. I've seen like a season and 3/4 of Supergirl TV show, and yeah, like I've seen her in various like game adaptations and other things. But in terms of actual reading, like whereas with Marvel and Marvel Limited, I mean, you know, brief Marvel tangent aside, like I'm more clued up on reading certain comics runs prior to the Marvel stuff. Like I do want to do and give DC the chance as well. Like I want to, especially if James Gunn is especially doing certain runs for his projects, as opposed to borrowing bits from all sorts of writers.
I'll chuck my camera on for a second because I'll have a plug for you here if I can get my camera to work. Because the newest version of this came for me today because it just came out. If you're looking to do this, there's something called DC Compact Comics that they're bringing out now. This is the newest one, Superman, Batman. And they're around 8 or 9 quid, and they're doing them. A lot of them are the ones that are going to be adapted in some way into the DCU films. This one has this one actually has Superman, Batman team up, and it's got the Supergirl, the second volume of that in here as well. So it's the kind of the origin of Supergirl in whatever this new version of the universe was this week. So, so yeah, I've got every one of the ones that have come out so far because they've done The Authority, which is where the engineer comes from. Yeah. They've done All-Star Superman and Superman Birthright, which feeds into that movie. They've done one of the Wonder Womans, whose name I can't remember. They've done... There was definitely a Batman one, but I've completely forgotten what it was. There's Batwoman Elegy, which is a really popular... They're all popular and successful DC comics. And if you are somebody that's like, I want to jump in, but I don't know where to start, and it's too expensive, like I said, these are affordable. They're really good, kind of like, oh, these are the seminal DC comics. And like I said, just look up DC Compact Comics and just have at it. Go nuts. There's like about 25 of them, so just pick any one and go for it. Really, whatever you like the look of. They've also got like Watchmen and V for Vendetta and stuff in there as well as part of that range. So, yeah.
Nice. Cheers for that, buddy. I'm going to definitely... DC Compact Comics. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to maybe order some. I'm going to order some.
Since I'm on the tangent, Marvel are doing the same thing, by the way. I've forgotten what theirs is called, but they've released a lot less. But I've also got every one of theirs. It's like in a red thing, a red slip binder kind of front and back cover thing.
I know the Epic. Is it Epic Collections with Marvel?
No, it's a new thing because it's similar to the DC Compact Comics. It's not like pocket thing because they're not that small. But I forget. But they've released so far Daredevil, Born Again, Black Panther, and Nation Under His Feet. Fantastic Four, Solve Everything, a bunch of others I can't quite remember. And I know that they're scheduled to do Hawkeye, My Life as a Weapon.
Marvel Pocketbook?
No, it's like Marvel. No. Hang on. I'll be 2 seconds because it's in the other room. I'll go and grab it.
Yeah. Sorry, audience, while Michael was actually getting a comic, I've just done a cheeky little Amazon search, and I've put in Marvel Pocketbook, and I mean, these are only like £7. But it seems to be various brief comics, like The Trial of Magneto. You've got Incredible Hulk Monsters Unleashed. You got X-Men 99 Hidden Years stuff in here.
Oh, the pocketbook ones are good, but they're kind of small reprints. I found Captain America Winter Soldier. It's called the Marvel Premiere Collection, and they all look like that, basically.
Okay. Okay. I've not seen them. Okay.
They're a bit more expensive than the DC Compacts, but not by much. They're like 9 or 10 quid. And again, they're the major kind of stuff that Marvel, the big name kind of comics that were popular and might be based on some of the movies and stuff. So.
Okay. Fair. Like I say, I knew the Epic, like the older Marvel Epic collections, but they're just like an all black book. And I think the title and stuff at the top, but they're like 20, 30 quid. Like they are dearer.
I've got a few of the ones that are like the essential character, but they're all like individual stories dotted about throughout the era. So they're not like these are graphic novels basically. So it's like the whole Winter Soldier story or the whole Born Again arc or stuff like that, you know?
Oh, fair.
So yeah, I've got a list of what's coming out actually. So in August, DC, The New Frontier and Wonder Woman, Blood and Guts. In September, Harley Quinn, Wild at Heart and Marvel are doing Old Man Logan. In October, Why the Last Man, Book 1. In November, Hawkeye, My Life as a Weapon, and We 3. And next January, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I can't imagine why. And Batman, Gotham by Gaslight.
Oh, yeah, I've heard good things about Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah, I have the animated film. It's really good. As long as you accept Elseworlds kind of stories. Obviously, it's not, our universe. It's the world where Batman's fighting Jack the Ripper. You've got to kind of go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard good things about Gotham by Gaslight. That's one I would watch, read. Yeah, I kind of want to seek that one out.
Yeah, but no, I would recommend any of the Marvel Premiere and especially the DC Compact Comics. They've got some really big ones, and like I said, they're all stuff. Like I said, but they started with like All-Star Superman and Superman Birthright and stuff that are all related to the Superman movie, especially All-Star Superman. That's very strong vibes of this because it's a bit batshit at times, basically. So, yeah. But
oh, cool.
So, yeah. I'm trying to think if I have any other grievances. I think my big one was the whole changing Jarell and Lara, which I just can't quite get past, even though some people don't mind it. And that was what I was going to say. The friend of mine that I was talking to was like, I don't care if the parents are evil because Superman only needs one set of parents, which is why they often kill off Pa Kent in some versions. I'm like, no, you've totally misunderstood that. Like, the killing off Pa Kent is what inspires Clark. They don't make him evil. It's like he's not physically there, just like Clark's birth parents aren't physically there because they've died, but you don't then have to turn them evil. He doesn't need lots of good parents. Yes, he does. And one of the issues I have, and again, I'm sure people might complain and say I'm being all woke and lefty and whatever, but for a film that is so pro-immigrant, I think it's a terrible message to just basically say, yes, we'll accept you, provided you, whatever land you come from, whatever horrible warmongering people you're from, you just disavow that part of yourself and fully assimilate and call yourself a human American. It's just kind of like, it's very uncomfortable, especially for a lot of people that I know. I mean, not me, but a lot of people I know respond to the Superman idea of like, you're a child of two worlds, you're adopted, but you've got birth parents, but you'll always, you might be from, you might be a black kid that's adopted, and so you've got African heritage that matters to you, and you've also got white adopted parents that you love that taught you your values. And this film seems to imply, if you take that to its natural extreme, well, you've got to disavow everything African because we just don't like that half of you. You know what I mean? It's very like, I don't love the messaging there. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, a bit uncomfortable. Yeah, that is a bit, not acts. No.
Anyway, sorry, I was just seeing because our friend Toby has just been to see Superman and once again just says, oh, you're in your own, because I absolutely loved it. And I was like, I don't get it. I do not quite get it. It's like really, I mean, like I said, I didn't hate this on the level of like, some other films we've reviewed relatively recently, like without spoiling. And
no, I don't know what films you're referring to. I don't know what films you're referring to. They haven't come out yet.
Exactly. Before I forget, though, my other issue that you skipped by it earlier, and I didn't have a chance to jump in and say, like, why was Ultraman in this movie? It was just James Gunn throwing stuff at the wall because, and again, I've said this in my review, I keep saying that, but if you want to read my Letterboxd review, please do. It's a lot more cogent and coherent of thoughts, but it's like, as I saw Ultraman was in the movie and I was like, oh, cool, Ultraman. There's a character in the comics called Ultraman who was from Earth 3, who's like their version of Superman, but that universe is evil and they're a crime syndicate rather than a Justice League. And I'm like, is it going to be him?
Yeah.
No.
I was 90% sure of that exact origin. He's essentially from another Earth. He isn't like another clone because that's Bizarro.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to say is that if you're not going to do that, then at least maybe
it's now kind of killed off any chance of a Bizarro turning up now.
Well, I mean, the chances are if they do a sequel, it'll be the origin of Bizarro. They'll just say, oh, the black hole sent him to the Bizarro world and mutated him and whatever. But then I would expect if you're going to do that, that was the other thing. I was like, oh, so if it's not that Ultraman, maybe it's Bizarro. If you're doing a clone of Superman, or it's Superboy. That is literally Superboy's origin. Is that he's a clone of Superman, but Lex Luthor filled in the DNA with his own. So he's kind of like the child of Superman and Lex Luthor. And I was like, oh, that would be really interesting if you introduce Superboy to this world. And nope, it's not any of those. It's a thing that doesn't talk and takes orders like a robot from Lex Luthor. And as you said, gives you a story reason for why they can get into the fortress. And that's it.
With Superboy, are you talking like, is it Conor Kent?
The Conor Kent version specifically, yeah.
Because like, again, clearing up my Superman lore here, because I'm aware of the Superboy TV show in the 80s, and my understanding that was just well, not just that TV show, but the comics of that time, wasn't Superboy just a young Clark Kent, like a young Superman?
Yeah.
That was the original concept.
There's a few versions of Superboy, because there is the one that's just basically the young adventures of Clark Kent, and there is another version which is kind of, he came when Superman was killed off in the 90s, and it was a whole thing. 4 other versions of Superman came along, and one of them was again a clone that was a Superboy, but not the Conor Kent version that you know, kind of thing. So there's that version as well. Then there's the Conor Kent Superboy, and I mean, we'd be here all day getting into the various versions, because DC retcons itself all the time. Just like how there's like 14 different Supergirls. You know, there's I like that they're going with the there was a whole period in Crisis on Infinite. I'm exaggerating slightly, but there was a whole thing in when they did Crisis on Infinite Earths. They wanted Superman to be the last Kryptonian officially, and they were like, we don't like that. There's actually not, it undercuts that when you have all these others, and so they realized when they wanted to introduce Kryptonian characters, they had to do it in stupid ways. So, like, General Zod was a Russian soldier that was possessed by the soul of a Kryptonian dictator, so there wasn't technically one still alive. And Supergirl was a character that was called Matrix, who was like a blob of jelly, basically, that took the form of Supergirl because she was inspired by Superman or something. And it's kind of like, just don't.
I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. That's why, like, the comic that I just showed you, the Superman Batman comic I've just got, that is the introduction to their version of Supergirl, where they just went back to the origin, basically, because it's like they'd just gone through whatever the latest retcon was, and they were like, okay, so Superman and Batman know each other, and in this version, the Supergirl story is basically her crashing on Earth, revealing, oh, I'm older than you, but I've been in stasis for so long, and now I'm on Earth and I don't know what to do, but you've already grown up and become Superman, like the Supergirl TV show, basically. And it's like her finding a place, because she's trying to be, you got Darkseid trying to corrupt her, and Wonder Woman trying to train her how to be an Amazon, and Clark being like, come and be Supergirl, and Batman being like, you could be a threat because I'm Batman and it's all I know how to say.
Fair. But no, I mean, Ultraman aside, I mean, essentially it's black noir for 80% of the time. I literally thought of The Boys the whole time. It's just black noir.
Yeah.
It's not Ultraman.
Yeah, my brother said the same thing. But that's the thing, is that James Gunn seems to want to do the kind of hardcore like versions of these characters, rather than everyone's like, oh, he so understands the soul of Superman. I'm like, he gets Superman right, but then he turns his parents into, like I said, the freaking Viltrumites from Invincible. You've got a version of flipping black noir from The Boys. I mean, as much as I might like the Authority as characters and everything, there's no reason for the Engineer to be in here other than we might do an Authority movie one day. Come on, man.
Wink. Yeah.
And I suppose you need a threat to Superman, but you've already got Ultraman in there, so it's kind of like... And it says a lot that I was reading an entire thing on Reddit today where people just don't understand how Superman like defeated the Engineer and like saved himself from her nanites that were gonna encompass him and take the air out of his lungs. And I'm like, yeah, exactly, because the film doesn't bother telling you. It's just like, well, it looked good. He knocked her out. I guess it worked. Oh, all right. Anyway, people probably think I hated this.
No, I want to make it like I enjoyed it, the experience. Like bearing in mind, like I watched it with, again, not no disrespect to my mother, but I watched it with someone that, again, like me, isn't clued up on Superman. For her, it was just a pleasant watch and a time at the cinema. I mean, by all means, like I just sat and watched the film, and I mean, again, we took one step further because, again, we're doing this unpaid, and this is, our ideal career. We've got to analyze this shit. But also, like, in a more positive hindsight, like, if we did really want this to be like the Holy Grail movie, and if it wasn't in the same month as a certain foursome that are fantastic, then it'd be hard in a way to even put this, the best of both worlds. This would have been on a similar pedestal, as hard as it is and as bold as I say. Like an Iron Man, in years to come, you'd think it would be as good or as hopeful and as game-changing as an Iron Man, but alas, they're not even in the same sentence, not even the same universe, and that's not even a possibility. Yeah, sorry.
Forgive me for interrupting. With me, it's not that. It's just the fact that, like I said, I love Superman so much, and I was watching like a box office thing where it was like, here's comparing the results of all of the theatrical released Superman movies, and it depressed me so much because I was like, there's been 8 of these. And there's only actually 2 of them that I'd say really nailed it and were actually good. I'm like, 2 out of 8 is a terrible record.
That's I was gonna say that's a question anyway. Like, how much money did this actually do? Because I've not even bothered to look up box office, or I haven't seen figures or anything. Like, how has this actually?
It's done enough.
Like,
I mean,
yeah,
it's it's really interesting because it's done enough, and it seems to be doing as predicted. But that's good in America because like a lot of stuff have come under predictions lately. So domestically and kind of in North America, it's done what it's expected, but it's still very good. But internationally, it seems to have just dropped off a cliff. For the most part, there's a couple of countries that it's done well, but like otherwise, like for example, the gross in North America was like 125 million for opening weekend, which is really bloody good, especially post-COVID. But the gross for the entire rest of the world is 95 million, which is less than just North America. And it's like that's so many more countries. That's not a good sign. Like Warner Brothers cannot be looking at that and being like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And like there are some people that were like, this film's going to make an easy billion. Not many films nowadays are going to make a billion. We're not in that era. I mean, Lilo and Stitch is about to. I think it's 6 million away, but that's Disney live action remake, so that's kind of a special case. But yeah, I mean, people are saying it's
sorry, a good live action remake. If I was
yeah. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoyed that movie. But yeah,
but you've got the Disney recognition. That's the thing. It's Disney brand and it's a known Disney brand. I mean, the other things that make billions tend to be the Toy Story or the Pixar sequels to films that already exist because you've got brand recognition. And I suppose you have with Superman. But like I said, it doesn't help that 2 out of 8 movies are good. And the last one that was good was 1981. So yeah, you've killed any goodwill maybe that this character movie-wise has.
You're not going to technically count 2006 in that, not for the Superman that did return, but you're not talking about the other cut of that movie.
What, Superman Returns?
No. Was it 2006 also, like the year of the Donna cut? Was that when that was released?
That was like, I think it was, I can't remember, but yeah, Superman 2, the Donna cut was great, but it wasn't theatrically released. I mean, I prefer that to the theatrical version personally, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I like both versions of Superman 2. I think I would put the Donna version above, but yeah, that didn't get a theatrical release, unfortunately.
No.
Excuse me. But what was I saying? I forget what my point was.
Money.
Sorry, what was it? I was telling you the thing. Yeah. So it's a lot's going to depend on what legs it has, as they say, which is like how well it does in future weeks, which it'll outside factors are going to influence that. Like if Fantastic Four is good and popular, it's obviously the same kind of movie as well, so it's going to take an audience away from Superman after it's only been out a couple of weeks, and they're kind of going to want it to have like long legs in terms of like weeks later people are still going to see it and it's still making money. At the moment, it's not made a lot. It's looking like if it performs as expected, it might get to like 600 million, which I know sounds ludicrous to say that's like in any way bad, and it's not. It's exactly what it needs to do, and it will mean it'll have made its money back and made a profit, especially by the time you add ancillaries and toys and merchandise and shit like that. But at the same time, it's not sustainable if that's what you want to have for a whole universe going forward, because it's probably quite modestly budgeted, but eventually you're going to want to be making films that, I mean, on average, you're probably going to be spending 200 to 300 million making these movies. And if they're only making 600, 700 million worldwide, it's not really the kind of, I mean, it is profit, but it's not the kind of profit big companies like Warner Brothers look at as like what they want. You know what I mean? So it's by no means a flyaway success that everyone seems to think it is, other than, like I said, critically and fan-wise, everybody's raving about it, but internationally, at least, it's just not making the money. People aren't really seeing it.
In the grand scheme of things, it seems to be a different story. I mean, okay. I can say for me, at least I feel a bit more vindicated now for not necessarily parading or shouting from the rooftops about this as well. Because honestly, when I walked out, I mean, again, chatting to my mum on the way back, and just sort of unwinding my thoughts. But even then, like, I literally, people were like, how was the movie? And I just stayed silent. Internally, I've just been silent until today. I've just been kind of like, well, it happened, and I don't quite know how to feel about it, because I just have to think, like, ignoring and to really hype up the concept, like we've kind of alluded to all review, but again, it's a symbol of hope. It's a symbol of hope for DC, James Gunn, and that whole real life scenario and backstory behind this particular production, and coming off of Guardians 3, which is, one of my favorite movies of the last couple of years anyway. So to say expectations were high is a bit of an understatement. again, Superman lore and knowledge aside, like, you know, if there were things over my head, which, you know, clearly a couple of things were over my head, like that wouldn't affect or score the movie down in any way.
Yeah.
It's just one of those. It was just one of those experiences though, where I kind of just, again, walked out afterwards, not during the film, thank goodness, but we left the film and I kind of thought, is that kind of it? Is this the big new initiative that we were all looking kind of forward to on paper? Because I don't know how it, like, it was just, is that it? Is that it?
Yeah, see, that's what I was interested to know about, because I knew that like a lot of the geeky shit, for want of a better word, that I had an issue with, you wouldn't necessarily care about. Like, I don't imagine you're going to be as invested in whether or not his birth parents are evil. It probably isn't a deal breaker for you in the way that I was like, oh, it really pissed me off.
No, yeah, I know, but the thing is, I don't know, but I can genuinely sympathize. I get how that would rub people the wrong way. I, like you and passionate, hardcore megalomaniacs included. I never would say that to you, Mike. No, I get how that would bother some people, but for me, it was more. I personally felt that it's still, as much as you did resolve it for me. Cheers. It still had that sense of, oh, could it be Twit? Could it be? But no, you've kind of ruined it for me. You shut me down on behalf of James Gunn. Go, no, they are evil, they are pricks, and you know there is no sense of hope there. But who's to say that agendas, retcons can't happen, and you know things can change?
I mean,
Superman will find out that he isn't the fade, gonna fuck up, and you know he's a great guy with great mum and dad, and great.
Absolutely, I don't think it's been unpopular enough that they will retcon it, which is a shame because I kind of hoped it would be, because they can walk it back. Like I said, they could come up with a future movie and be like, the message is it was corrupted by Brainiac, which is why you didn't know, or they could turn around and say like, that's not Jor-El and Laura, that's actually General Zod. Your father was a completely different actor. You know, and,
exactly. Yeah. Imagine Bradley Cooper as General Zod instead of Jor-El.
Yeah. See, I would like that. That would at least be interesting. Oh, and I should say, by the way, to the people that didn't watch all of Smallville and complain to me because they're like, I can't believe you have a problem with it. Jor-El was evil in Smallville. No, he wasn't. The Jor-El AI was evil in Smallville because it was corrupted and didn't understand. Jor-El himself appears several times and is perfectly the Jor-El you would expect from the 78 movie. And don't come at me if you haven't watched all 10 seasons of Smallville. All right, the story hadn't ended, so it's not the same.
Can I be honest on behalf of the audience? I haven't finished Smallville. It's taken me like my whole fucking life to watch, but I'm at season 6. Lex and Lana is where I'm at.
It gets so good. It gets fully comic booky after like season 7. It's so good.
But I know the ending. I know where it all sort of goes. It's just the last couple in betweeny seasons. Because again, I know each season kind of deals with monster of the season as opposed to monster of the week. Like I know things in them, but like, I don't know the latter half of the show more than I do the first 5 seasons. But like I do, especially after watching this, like again for better or for worse, like I will do my Superman homework in terms of the films. Smallville, like I can't not think of since this film anyway.
Well, it's strange to say that because they asked David who his favorite Superman was growing up, and apparently it was Tom Welling.
He did. Yeah. But then that's a fake answer because he wasn't really Superman until the last minute of season 10. He was Clark Kent for 10 years.
It's always who he is deep down in his core. But yeah, I should say that like as much as I'm not like defending this from the view of like I want to bring Snyder back, I am incredibly pissed off that this cancelled the Superman and Lois TV show for this because that show was so good.
Oh, what really?
Yeah, I've trumpeted it to people so much and tried to get people to watch it, and it's like it does such a more interesting thing with the evil twin than the Ultraman thing in this movie. Their Lex Luthor is fantastic. It's not like the version that you might know from the comics, but it is. He is such a threat. He's played by the guy who plays Abraham in The Walking Dead, and he's a threat to Clark in the kind of cool ways where it's not like I've developed crazy comic books in interdimensional portals and stuff. It's like, no, I'm going to actually threaten you by the fact that I have power and I have money and I can threaten your family and I can make life miserable for you. And it's kind of, it's both a frustrating and incredibly, joyous experience watching the final season because they do the death of Superman and bring Superman back, first of all, but then you have Lex Luthor for the entirety of those 10 episodes in the final season, just being an absolute thorn in Superman's side in the worst way. And you're so frustrated, like, Lex, you dick! The entire time until the very end of the season, and then you're just like, yeah, he got his comeuppance in the end. And yeah, I wouldn't spoil much else, but yeah, it also had an ending that just made me cry absolute buckets because they knew the show was cancelled and was ending, so it ends the story of those characters and Superman's life and everything, and it's so good.
I was
Anyway.
going to say that was going to be my brief question. Did it end loosely, or did it actually like end definitively?
Oh, it ended beautifully. It was a beautiful ending because like there's so much in the 4 seasons that they get, and they're not long seasons. There's so much that happens. Like Lois gets diagnosed with cancer and has to kind of go through all of that and survive that. It's like her, and they've got like the 2 twin boys where one has powers and one doesn't, but the one that does have powers is also the one that's kind of like basically autistic, like socially awkward and can't fit in and doesn't know how to regulate his emotions. So that's kind of, and then you got the other one who's like the proper jock who doesn't have powers. That's then jealous of the fact that, like, oh, you got 2 powers, I didn't. Oh, at least for the first like few seasons.
And, okay.
I mean, they fight so many cool things. They fight like a slightly changed version of Maxwell Lord, who they make into a relative of Superman in the first season, and then they end up taking on like Bizarro, Doomsday's in there, loads of like the Superman comic villains that but with interesting twists and shit to them, and it's both a fantastic like family drama and a great Superman, but it also fully, for me, it's the one thing that really understood the character of Superman. Like, even as much as everyone's going on about this film, it gets hope and it fully understands who Superman is, it's that show that for me really genuinely understands who he is. And there's so many cool speeches of him like explaining, because he has to explain to the boys, like, you've got powers, and so you can't just go and do as you please. You've got to go and do good things and be good. And Superman talking about like leading with love, and it was my parents that raised me. It was that love that caused me to be who I am, and then I fell in love with Lois Lane, and it was that love that defined the last part of my life. And it's so good, honestly. Go watch Superman and Lois if you haven't seen it. Like I said, it's 4 seasons and they're relatively short. So
I mean, that's the message for the audience, guys. Go and watch. Yeah. Well, it was Arrowverse originally, and then it tangered off into its own thing, did it?
Yeah, that kind of annoyed me, because the first season they were saying it still was for a while, and then they decided they didn't want to be. So at the end of the first season, they have a throwaway line where they're just like, "We've discovered that there are other universes out there where they have like crazy speedsters who can run fast, and other versions of characters that can do things. And it's bizarre that in this universe we only have Superman." And I'm like, "All right, okay, I guess I'll forgive." So yeah, it wanted to be both, and then it just officially planted its flag as like, it's just Superman. But I can live with that. It stopped us from basically having to do the thing we were all doing, which is like, so where's Supergirl? Where's the Flash? Where's everyone else in this universe to help out? So especially when you had like season 2, for example, is something that affects the entire planet, and it would be way too good to not have like every superhero in the universe running to converge and be like, dude, an entire planet is about to fuck us over. What are we gonna do? Anyway, again, that's not really related to this movie, but yeah.
Well, nice. What a nice super note to actually end on. Well, I say end. I can't address it going into, but like just the nature of the plot and the whole real world conflict ish aside, and the whole Superman kind of being a moral grey area, like the character of in the public eye being a bit of a moral grey area. It was just an inverted take on Batman versus Superman again. Like that's how I could.
Exactly.
It was just, I know. I think one of us said it earlier, like way at the beginning of the recording, but like that was at the undercurrent of the whole film. Like it's just felt like the universe before, and I don't really want that again in a comic book Superman movie. But to put Superman in a questionable, again, moral situation, not necessarily him himself, but within the public eye, in this very the very non-believable public in a world that's so fantastical and so not realistic in any way. I just didn't want to feel BVS energy again, but without Batman in it. I don't want that in a Superman movie, especially in a reboot. I didn't want that again. But that literally was kind of all I was going to end on a positive. Now I've brought back a negative point. Guys, let us know what you thought of Superman 2025. Are we completely wrong? Did you guys switch off half an hour ago when you heard we didn't like the movie?
Well,
No,
you said didn't like. We haven't given our official scores yet. I've got a conclusion and a score ready for you whenever you want, and then I want to hear your star score and if you're still the same as you were. So.
No, but that's the thing. I think even on other recordings, like again, not super related stuff, just in general, whether I hear George's points or your points, or even when I'm sitting here contemplating what I'm about to say next, and snipe a bullet to my head that's through the internet, I don't feel like I'm going to change. I feel pretty confident and sticking to my guns in terms of score. But I'm just, we'll conclude with our scores. I was just going to say, guys, public, let us know your thoughts about this movie. Are we completely wrong? Are you excited about this DCU? Are you missing the E in the EU? Said no one. Are we completely wrong? Are you begging and craving for Superman 2? Are you personally chipping into the box office to make this movie get more money? Because Michael Money Wilson here is kind of he hasn't outright ruined or squashed your dreams, but he's kind of painted a real light, which I didn't know was happening. Guys, again, if you didn't like what we say, quickly go and see the film as much as you can, or pay a ticket 10 times and walk out. Or do whatever you got to do to make this sequel live on and support the James Gunn universe, because I'm excited about anything and everything else that's upcoming. Again, there's a whole flu and list of projects online kind of making the rounds. And as we're discussing in our private chats, like again, only a certain amount of them are sort of fine out and like real. The rest are kind of hypothetical, up in the air at the minute, with varying degrees of realism at the minute. But again, time will tell. All that jazz. Just let us know your thoughts about the movie and Superman in general and how much it means to you. And the Michael's sexy, gorgeous, very 1940s S. How much does that symbol mean to you?
This is a scene from Superman and Lois. They actually do a flashback where he wears this costume. It's a very brief flashback, but it's such a cool moment. He turns up and he's like, "Oh, I had a cool costume. Oh, thanks, my mom made it for me." Like,
yay! That was you. Was that your voice? And going, "Yay!" Like,
that was me watching as a huge fanboy nerd, being like, "Yay!"
Yeah, but they recorded that clip and you going, "Yay!" and they put that in the show. Yay! Yay!
Yeah, the CGI did a little girl to the corner just to make it happen. It's okay to justification. Like, we better put a little girl screaming. He's made the noise again.
Oh, sorry, it's Michael and Michaela.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it is what it is. It's. I didn't. Anyway, I'm sure you've got to finish your wrap up. Sorry.
No, I'm sort of doing it back to front because normally we conclude and then I'll say subscribe and all the jazz, but I'm going to do it the other way around. Guys, send us your thoughts to nerdbiblecontact@gmail.com. For me and George's sake, who sadly isn't here with us. I mean, hey, boss has got to take a day off.
Movie in fairness.
And he hasn't seen the movie, but then, hey, when's that a surprise? Yes, I know, being a parent, or one day I can relate. But anyway, thoughts, feelings, predictions to nerdbiblecontact@gmail.com. Again, you find us across all various social media platforms. Again, you guys probably better than us, but Facebook, Blue Sky, the safe and more economic, safe version of Twitter, from what I understand.
Well, you say that, but apparently you're going to have to prove your identity to use that after July the 24th. So we're probably not going to be on that very much longer either.
So it's no longer a fortress of online solitude then.
No.
Yeah, well, damn it. Instagram, Snapchat, not that we've ever said it, but Snapchat, right? We're on Snapchat, maybe. George, sorry if we're not. I
know George is definitely on TikTok. I've seen videos from it.
All the kids use Snapchat these days.
We're on Vivo. We're on Truth Social.
Yeah. BBN. Eventually Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, Steam IDs,
LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Damn, that's what's missing at LinkedIn. Yeah. Again, you guys know where to find us. TikTok especially, need to get more content on that. Mike, do you want to plug anything on your end, as we've heard you do many times before?
Well, I have a couple of podcasts, so if you haven't fully hated me on this one, currently I'm in the middle of a series of hit or miss Star Trek on the Hit or Miss Hugh Trek channel, where we review Star Trek and Doctor Who. We're reviewing Star Trek episodes currently that are based on Cardassians and Bajorans. If you know those species, you know they're quite morally interesting. So we're in the middle of that, and we could use some views on there. If you're a Trekkie or a sci-fi fan, just look up Hit or Miss Who Trek on YouTube, or look up Media Matters Podcast Network, wherever you get your audio podcasts, where you'll also find Silver Screen Podcast, or look that up under its own name on YouTube. It's Silver Screen. We do Silver Screen Podcast regular. My co-host DK does Silver Screen Cult Classics. I do Silver Screen Cinema Classics. And you can find from just a couple of months ago, we did a Silver Screen Cinema Classics review of Superman the movie, 1978. So if you want to hear me being incredibly the opposite of this about a Superman project and incredibly glowing and, you know, so talking about the impact it had on my life and almost coming to the, you know, to tears of pure sheer love for a Superman product, that would be the review to go and hunt out. Please don't go and troll it if you don't like that. I didn't like this one. I did want to say that I've got in my review, and I say it again. I don't begrudge anybody liking this. I don't want to be the kind of the rage farming like monkey online. If you did love the movie, fair play, and if you love it for all the reasons that I love Superman, then all more's the better. If you respond to the kind of, I love that it represents hope and brightness and everything, awesome. I wish I saw what you did. I didn't, but hopefully maybe in a sequel we will. And if you see all the things that I love, then we can be friends. And like I said, let's not all have been to culture wars and whatever else. And yeah, back to you,
Connor. Yeah, no, very well said. Again, like what Mike said, but about us and Pasty Sheep. Again, if you don't like the fact that I don't, oh well, hey, okay, not I dislike the film, but obviously didn't see what you guys had seen or will yet see. George, again, if you were here, you could either back me up or shut me down, or shut us both down. Maybe he will be the one that will be the symbol of hope that is missing from this review. Maybe he'll be the one to love it. I don't know. I don't know his knowledge and how he's well versed in the Superman mythology like myself. I don't know if he feels more similarly to what you do, or I don't know if he's kind of me. I don't know where he stands on the Superman situation per se. So he would have been an interesting sort of third wheel slice. But regardless, when he's next on and when we next speak, no doubt we'll know his thoughts on it. But yeah, Mike, hit us with your lovely, wonderful essay of a conclusion. Even though, in fairness, we've already said quite a lot in terms of.
Well, it's not an essay because I did just basically go through my Letterboxd review to hit the points that I will. But to try and sum it up, like I said, my biggest issues with this movie are I can't understand that people are loving this but hated Man of Steel when for me it repeats a lot of the same problems. An overstuffed universe, introducing too many characters at once, screwing over and character assassinating one of Superman's parents, whether it's birth or adopted. It's all the same problems basically. And on top of that, like I said, I just didn't love the way that this universe is represented. I'd rather it had a bit more gravitas and a bit more weight to it. But, you know, there's things that I like. Like I said, I love Quarren Sweat Superman. I love a few of the characterizations, and it wasn't the worst time ever. It's just a shame that as I think on it, I'm just kind of struggling to think of a great moment that I would want to kind of like, oh, if you watch it again, what would you be looking out for? That particular action sequence moment, and there really isn't anything for me that supremely stands out. So for that, and for, like I said, the things about subverting the Superman law that really infuriate me, among many other reasons that you can find out by going to Letterboxd, I actually went with a 2-star out of 5 for this movie. So not glowing praise.
Dun dun dun! Shock horror. No, I did read your review, Letterboxd review before this review anyway, just to kind of know your pre-thoughts anyway. And yeah, no, like I genuinely agree with your stuff 9 times out of 10 anyway. Again, if you want to see us disagree, there probably are certain episodes that, again, the fans that we should have put them into a playlist or clip us disagreeing over the years and over many collaborations that we've done. But no, I'm not going to do again. Letterboxd I will try and commit to at some point, but again, working 2 jobs and having very few time to watch the cinema and then spending the next 2 or 3 hours to then write a again, I'm not calling your reviews an essay, Mike. I don't mean it in a derogatory way.
Well, they get that way at times.
I love reading your stuff. Like you put words to paper, whereas I think about it too much and then try to. My issue is struggling putting things on paper, but alas, essentially, yeah, like it for a movie that kicked off a new initiative of films and a new universe. I felt like there was more ideas that were okay in like conceptually, but I just feel like the execution on some particular ideas weren't met, and that's where instead of feeling super and hopeful and optimistic about what's to come, it's just a bit of an indicator of that. Just because it's got a certain director's name, not that I fully believed in James Gunn being the voice to match Superman, because again, James Gunn I associate with comedy and by all means underdog characters. Superman isn't an underdog. Like Superman is a true fictional icon for so many people like worldwide. And again, when you think of comic book characters, like he is your big he is in the big three, but even your top two, like if you were to go 3 comic book characters off the top of your head, who do you think of? Just free fire. Who do you think of, Mike?
Oh, well, I always go with my favorites. So Superman, Spider-Man, and Cyclops from the X-Men.
Well, you got 2 of the 3. You got 2 of the 3.
Oh, sorry.
Cyclops.
If you were asking me who was the most famous one, obviously, like, well, with DC, it's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, isn't it? Really, so yeah.
I know. I mean, that's a good political answer and a good audience retention. But I was just gonna go with Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. For me, they're the 3 that I think of comic book characters, regardless of gender aside.
How good the Arrowverse was. I think there's a case that things like the Flash are growing, and Green Lantern's popular, and there's characters that are waiting to, I think, really pop up and become huge. But yeah, Superman and Batman are basically untouchable, aren't they? Really, they
are basically 1 and 2, and then you can put the third hero as like again a favorite, popular. You could like Hulk if you're going to sit here and do a 20-minute essay about who's the top 5 most known or most popular. Like that's a whole other separate conversation. But in someone that is always at the forefront of the comic book industry, anyway, this just feels like it's just another attempt at an iconic character. It just, again, it sort of didn't have any iconography in terms of the action. There was nothing breathtaking or stellar that really made this adaptation, like, I guess, stand out, quote unquote. But again, this is someone that isn't as versed or has read so many years and, has done the homework fully in that sense without really mugging myself off. So again, take my huge words with a pinch of salt. But yeah, like I'm optimistic and I'll give James Gunn more of a chance because I feel like if he's putting genuine good scripts in front of projects that aren't necessarily being planned, and he ain't gonna like basically put things in production until the script is good and he's actually gonna do good thorough checks as opposed to just Marvel greenlighting things because it's Disney Plus and they need content, then I'm all here for time and patience. Like it is at the end of the day quality over quantity, and as long as James Gunn sort of sticks to that approach, not just with the Superman stuff but anything else going forward, then I'm more on board for that. But no, I am sorry, sorry.
I was going to ask you a question, which is just like knowing that there's only like 3 more things or 4 more things on the slate. So after seeing Superman, I have to say that I am not that interested in Supergirl. Really interested in the Mike Flanagan Clayface film because I know I love Mike Flanagan as a director, and it looks like it got James Gunn to greenlight it based on the script, so it's probably good. And with Lanterns, I'm in between. I'll watch it, and I know I'm going to watch Peacemaker season 2 because I liked season 1 and I loved Creature Commandos, but in terms of this universe, it's not really off to a flying start. It's not like scrap the whole thing, but yeah, I'm not super hyped for anything that's coming down the pike just yet.
We're not super, and we're not sold on it. S for sold, like Hollywood should be nowadays. You should see something, you should see logos, you should see that Hollywood S or that Kryptonian S and think sold. But just like the both of us, we're not fully sold on this DCU agenda just yet. And I guess at the end of the day, regardless of casting and weird business plans aside, in a way, this is unofficial justice for Cavill because I'm just glad he wasn't involved in this. regardless if he was greenlit or not. Like justice for Cavill.
I really did think for a while that he'd been cast as Ultraman because Corin Sweat with the kind of wet curly hair really looks like Cavill.
I would have loved the idea. Because that would have then borrowed the plot of like Lex cloning Superman, but obviously not perfect, and there would have been some visual flaws and discrepancies. Like that would have been brilliant. But I get if he was an actor that obviously was greenlit to come back in another universe, had the green light to go, and then suddenly 2 or 3 weeks after release, and then got suddenly pulled from the plug, and then you're not coming back. I totally understand why he wouldn't want to even dare go back to that.
You will get to see Jason Momoa play Lobo in the Supergirl movie. Why not?
Because that's been again a project, a statement that's been around for as long as the DCEU at that point, right? That was floating around.
It's confirmed though. It's happening.
But that idea, it's like in development hell idea or fan casting that he wanted for as long as the DCEU. Like that idea has been floating around for so long. But anyway, he's gonna get that. Cool. Like you, I'll watch the Kryptonian girl, cousin of Superman, but I just want to know something that isn't Kryptonian related. But then, as I say, that's Lanterns, Cringy Commandos. Yeah, sorry.
Have you seen the first poster that they released for Supergirl? I've just literally come across it because it came onto my feed. James Gunn just released a teaser poster for Supergirl. Let me see if I can find it to share to you.
I'll try and find as you're typing.
Breaking news! There it is. Will this work? That's a good question. Come on, load.
What is this?
I apologize, audience. It is only a teaser poster as well, so it's not like earth-shatteringly brilliant. It's probably going to end up being really tiny as well.
What is this? Is it look out or look up? Yep. Look out.
She crossed out the look up and it now says look out.
I mean, I kind of like her drinking like a slushy, whatever it is. It looks like a slush.
Yeah. Wearing the same outfit from the end of Superman as well, the kind of coat over the top of the Supergirl costume.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I just wanted to share some breaking news while we were here.
Live on the end. That's how we always end. We do tend to spot something or like end it on a good cliffhanger for something to think about. But yeah, really long outro aside. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for any further developments that happen in the movie industry world. And I say for us personally, it won't be until the Fantastic Four that we hope is fucking fantastic and better than anything super that James Gunn has cooked. We're hoping to God that Fantastic Four isn't going to be a similar situation to this, because that will crush me if that is the case. But yeah, look out, guys, and I want to read look up, but look out, guys, for more. Rate, comment, subscribe, share this lovely video with everyone you know. Get us up the ratings, get us unofficial Hollywood dollars, and then we can bring like all the Superman films that you want, because everyone that mainly American loves this movie. But until then, guys, take care, stay pasty, and go be super, I guess.
Up and away.